Western Cape is counting the cost of those devastating storms that hit the province earlier this year, and we're talking about a bill of almost 10 billion rand. But on the other side of the economic conversation, the province's unemployment rate has once again stayed below 20%. Then in social buzz, we're heading into the entertainment world because international rapper French Montana is coming to South Africa, and we've got a little bit of a look behind the man himself. And finally, Netflix has given us a reality dating show that asks perhaps one of the most terrifying questions imaginable. Can Harry Jowsey actually get married? So, let's get into it. Let's start with something that's affecting all of us here in the Western Cape. The province is now facing a 9.979 billion rand damage bill following the severe storms that battered the Western Cape in May. And when you hear almost 10 billion rand, it's difficult to actually picture what that means. But this figure represents the estimated cost of damage and losses across the province, including infrastructure, essential services, and communities that were affected by the extreme weather. Premier Alan Wynne revealed the figure on Wednesday following a provincial cabinet meeting where government discussed the scale of the recovery effort. And the message coming out of that meeting is pretty clear. This is going to be a very expensive recovery. The provincial government says the cost of repairs and recovery is expected to exceed what the Western Cape could currently afford within its existing budgets. That means money is going to have to be moved around. The province will have to reprioritize budgets so that some of the most urgent repair work can continue. And that's already happening. Provincial Cabinet has approved 480 million rand from the province's 2026-27 unforeseen and unavoidable reserve. That money is being made available to various provincial government departments to support immediate recovery efforts. And this is important because the Western Cape isn't simply talking about repairing a few damaged roads. We're talking about public infrastructure and essential services that communities rely on every single day. The province has therefore also gone to national government for help. The Western Cape Department of Local Government has submitted a funding application to COGTA, the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, through the National Disaster Management Centre. The application is aimed at securing additional funding to deal with the infrastructure repair and restoration requirements that have been identified. The province has also asked for its application to be taken before the relevant National Treasury Committee under provisions relating to unforeseeable and unavoidable expenditure. But Premier Wynne says the province cannot simply sit around waiting for that process to finish. And honestly, that's understandable. If a community has damaged infrastructure, the people living there still need infrastructure, whether the funding application has been approved or not. Wynne says the province has to act decisively and use financial mechanisms already available. That's why the 480 million rand reserve is now being used. But there's another part of the story that I think is particularly important, because once the immediate disaster response is over, it's very easy to move on. The water goes down, the roads reopen, and people start returning to their normal routines. And then the next crisis happens. Government is now saying that the approach needs to change. Premier Wynne says the Western Cape needs to become much more proactive about preventing and reducing the impact of extreme weather. That includes maintaining fire breaks, clearing invasive alien vegetation from waterways and water bodies, improving stormwater systems, and strengthening the maintenance of critical infrastructure. And if you've lived in the Western Cape for any amount of time, you know how quickly our weather can change. 1 minute everything looks normal, and then suddenly you've got intense rainfall, flooding, strong winds, and communities dealing with the consequences. So the province is now being forced to think beyond simply asking, how do we fix this? The question also becomes, how do we make sure we're better prepared next time? Because climate patterns are changing and extreme weather events are becoming something governments increasingly have to plan for. And for the Western Cape, that planning is now happening with nearly 10 billion rand recovery price tag sitting on the table. The province is waiting for additional funding from national government, but in the meantime, it says recovery work will continue. The priority is getting essential services and infrastructure back up and running, supporting affected communities, and making sure the province doesn't lose momentum because of pressure by the disaster. This isn't just a story about a really big number. It's about roads, infrastructure, communities, government budgets, and ultimately the question of how do we prepare the Western Cape for whatever comes next. Let's head over to an ad break.
From the heart of the continent to its farthest horizons, Africa awakens with stories that shape our world. This is Africa Good Morning, your window into the pulse of a dynamic continent. I'm Ashwin Berry, here to deliver the latest news, sharp insights, and the vibrant spirit of Africa. Every weekday, we dive into the headlines, uncover untold stories, and spotlight the people driving change. Plus, stay ahead with daily weather forecasts and economic updates to navigate your week with confidence. With direct coverage from our correspondents on the ground, we bring you in-depth access to Africa's beating heart. Mondays, Mike Situla reports from Zambia.
Africa, good morning.
Tuesdays, Talent Gore covers Zimbabwe. Wednesdays, Rorisang Mokojwe brings Botswana's news. Dumela, Rorisang.
Thank you very much, Ashwin, for having me right here on Africa Good Morning. It is always a pleasure to be here with you all.
Thursdays, Ari Hogarth tackles South Africa.
Yes, very good morning, Ashwin and Aina. Yes, a good atmosphere.
And Fridays, we focus on Namibia's bold narratives. From thriving cities to rugged plains, our team is there, capturing the rhythm of a continent on the rise. Africa Good Morning is your essential start. News, weather, economics, and more.
Now from a massive economic challenge to something economic news that is actually a little more encouraging. The Western Cape's unemployment rate has dipped to 19.5% in the second quarter of 2026, and that means the province has now managed to stay below the 20% mark for more than a year. That's significant, particularly when you compare it with what's happening nationally. South Africa's official unemployment rate climbed to 33.6% during the same quarter, so we're looking at a difference of almost 14 percentage points between the Western Cape and the country as a whole. But before we start celebrating too much, there's something important you need to know about these numbers, because the Western Cape actually recorded a decrease of 48,000 employed people during the quarter. And that sounds like it doesn't make sense. If fewer people are employed, how can unemployment also go down? Well, this is where labor force statistics become a little complicated. The unemployment rate doesn't simply count everyone who doesn't have a job. It measures people who are part of the labor force, meaning they're available for work and actively looking for work but don't have a job. So, if people stop actively looking for work or leave the labor force for another reason, they aren't necessarily counted as unemployed. That's why employment and unemployment can move in different directions. But when we look at the broader year-on-year picture, the Western Cape does have some positive numbers. 7 of the province's 10 sectors recorded employment gains over the year. The finance sector added around 41,000 jobs. The trade sector added another 41,000, and agriculture added around 26,000. These are significant gains, particularly for a province where agriculture and tourism are such important parts of the economy. The province's labour absorption rate also increased by 1.1 percentage points year on year. It now sits at 55.7%, and nationally that figure is only 39.6%. In simple terms, labour absorption looks at the share of the working age population that actually has a job. So the Western Cape is performing significantly better on that measure too. And this isn't necessarily a brand new trend. The latest figures show that over the past decade, the Western Cape's unemployment rate has consistently remained below the national average. Premier Alan Wind says the latest decrease is encouraging and points to what he describes as a resilient job creation environment. Western Cape Minister of Agriculture, Economic Development and Tourism Dr. Ivan Meyer also highlighted the year-on-year numbers. According to Meyer, South Africa has lost approximately 68,000 jobs year on year, while the Western Cape created 91,000 jobs over the same period. But, and this is where the story gets complicated again, the Western Cape still has a major employment challenge, and that's particularly true when we look at young people. Youth unemployment increased in the second quarter. The number of unemployed people between the ages of 15 and 34 increased by around 264,000. That brings the total number of unemployed people to approximately 5 million. And the youth employment rate has climbed to 47.4%. So almost half of young people in the relevant labour force measure are unemployed. And that's a number that cannot simply be ignored, because the overall provincial unemployment rate looks better. Because ultimately the question isn't just whether the Western Cape has a lower unemployment rate than Gauteng, the Eastern Cape, or the national average. The question is whether people living here are actually finding meaningful work. Premier Wynne says the province wants to continue attracting investment that create jobs. And Minister Meyer says the focus needs to remain on supporting businessmen, expanding export opportunities, improving skills, and developing the infrastructure needed for long-term economic growth. So the Western Cape can certainly celebrate remaining below 20%, but the numbers also make it clear that there's still a lot of work to be done, particularly for young people trying to enter the job market for the first time. Because getting unemployment down is one thing, making sure people have sustainable employment opportunities is another. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're switching gears completely. Let's head to an ad break.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us. Something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Ons afspraak elke Vrydag aand, dit is 7:30 in die tonnel. Lekkerte van in die tonnel is ons gesels met die sportman en die sportvroue wat op die sportveld opstap en opdraf. Praat met die afrigters. Ons kundiges wat saamgesels, soos MW Welman van Megafoon Sport, Mike Potgieter, kundige op die rugbyfront. Dis lekker saamgesels. Ons hoor wat sê almal, wat kan die naweek gebeur? Is almal gesond en wie word gekies? Dit is Saterdag se aksie, Sondag se aksie, maar nie net internasionaal nie. Ons kyk ook wat in Namibië gebeur. Lekker saamgesels. Vrydag aande, ons gesels saam, 7:30 in die tonnel.
Now, if you haven't made your December plans yet, perhaps don't make them just yet, because French Montana is coming to South Africa, and he's not coming for one show. He's coming for two. The international rapper is set to headline the inaugural Afro-Tax events in South Africa, with the Cape Town show on 4 December, followed by Johannesburg on 5 December. And obviously for Cape Town fans, this is the one you'll want to pay attention to. The Cape Town event is taking place at the Ostrich, with the event scheduled to run from 2 p.m. until midnight. That's a full 10 hours of music and entertainment. Then the following day, the action moves to Joburg. Now, French Montana is one of those artists whose name you probably recognize even if you're not necessarily a massive hip-hop fan. His real name is Karim Kabouche, and he was born in Morocco. When he was 13, his family moved to the Bronx in New York, and that experience, moving between cultures and growing up in the Bronx, became an important part of his story. He eventually made his name in the American hip-hop scene, first through mixtapes and collaborations before becoming an internationally recognized artist. And one of his biggest global hits, Unforgettable. The song featuring Sway Lee became a massive international success and helped cement French Montana's place in mainstream hip-hop. But there's another side to the story, one that you don't necessarily get from a music video or a 3-minute song. French Montana's life and career were explored in the documentary The French Montana Story for Khadija, and the title itself tells you something about what the documentary focuses on. It's all about his mother. Let's take a look.
French Montana has been named the most streamed African-born artist.
The comeback, a young Moroccan boy. I'm a real immigrant fresh off the boat.
No access to nothing to become this dream that I always dreamed about.
$1 worth of
father left, part of me died.
الإسلام الناس إلى ولدوا أولادهم ما كيسمحوش بالولاد ديالهم.
It was a total transformation. I just remember my mother working 2-3 jobs. I was like, I gotta do something. I did it to get my mother out of there, but it was like, how do I escape poverty without becoming a number? I hit the streets.
You gon' make it if you chosen, it's the only way. Young Moroccan immigrant, made it in the USA. And
Bronx is like ordained by God for immigrants to migrate to.
Coming from Morocco, I had to prove myself. I'm taking you down too.
I had this idea of French in my head as like this young, untouchable mob boss.
You know, he had a hard time. He had a real hard time.
I had to lock in.
And then he turned into an artist.
At this time, me and Max be running the city.
We was like brothers. Like that's my man.
Shot caller came out, then it was just like, shh.
French Montana is currently wearing the crown in his town.
4 or 5 in the morning. I remember my mother waking me up scared to death. They just shot your brother.
وماشي سهل باش غادي يكون واحد كيتكون.
They sell you the dream. They don't show you the nightmare.
There's a gene in any person. They will not quit till they make it.
The power of music and art. It's a story for a lot of immigrants out there. They sacrifice to better themselves, to better their family.
The documentary follows his journey from Morocco to New York and eventually into the music industry, while also looking at his relationship with his mother and the sacrifices made by his family along the way. It gives a much more personal look at the person behind the rapper. And that story is important because French Montana's success didn't happen overnight. He went from being a teenager, arriving in the Bronx, to becoming a major international recording artist. And now he's bringing that story and the music that came with it to South Africa. The Afrotracks events are being positioned as a celebration of hip-hop and African culture, bringing international and African sounds together. And for Cape Town, once again, it's happening on the 4th of December at the Ostrich. Johannesburg, you'll get your turn on the 5th of December. So, if French Montana is on your playlist, you might want to keep those dates free. And if you're not familiar with his story, maybe the documentary is a good place to start, because by December, you might find yourself singing along to songs you didn't even realize you knew. Okay, so from international hip-hop to something that is probably going to cause significantly more arguments in your group chat. Netflix has released a new reality dating series called Let's Marry Harry. And yes, the Harry is Harry Jowsey. You probably know him from Too Hot to Handle and Perfect Match, but this time he's apparently ready to leave the dating show lifestyle behind and find himself a wife. Let's take a look.
I'm going to marry Harry. Harry, I'm going to marry you.
I'm Harry Jowsey, and you may know me from different shows.
What up, you little cream pies?
You know, you get the world thrown at you, you get girls that you've always dreamed of, but I'm ready to settle down.
Let's get married.
Baby, give me what you got. If it was up to me, I'd probably mess this up. That's why my friends are here to guide me in the right direction.
Let's get married.
So we broke up?
Not me.
Whenever we are together, I feel myself getting toxic.
Then she needs to go.
I think you're perfect. But I don't know if you're perfect for me.
Cutthroat, baby. Period.
It looks good on paper to have 20 fiancés. Harry lives for drama, but it is chaos.
You put 20 girls in a house and told us to like you and said have fun.
I took 10 steps in the right direction today and 45 steps backwards.
I'm genuinely here looking for a connection. I'm not here to just like look dumb.
I feel like I could be your best friend, but I don't know if I could be your husband.
Oh my gosh, she's leaving.
I'm in love with 2 women, and I could imagine my life with both of them. I don't know what to do.
This is your real life. Pretend there are no cameras here. What do you want?
I think you're making a horrible mistake.
The premise is exactly what the title suggests. Harry meets 20 women, all hoping to become his future wife. But this isn't just a normal dating competition. Harry's friends and people close to him are also involved in the process, and one of those people is someone you might not expect. His ex-girlfriend, Georgia Hazarati. Yes, his ex is helping him choose his future wife. I think that alone deserves its own reality show. Other people involved include Amanda Kloots and Harry's friend Sunny Henty. And then, Call Her Daddy creator Alex Cooper is also involved as an executive producer. The series premiered on Netflix on 5 August with the first 7 episodes released together. And yesterday, 12 August, we finally got the finale. So, who did Harry choose? His final 2 were Amber Motso, a travel photographer from Hawaii, and Danielle Davidson, a nurse and cocktail waitress from Las Vegas. And after all the dates, drama, and decision-making, Harry chose Amber. And then Netflix took it one step further. They didn't just get engaged, they actually got married. Let's take a look. The pair reportedly bonded over some deeply personal experiences, including both having lost their fathers, and Harry eventually decided that Amber was the person he wanted to build a future with. But obviously, this is reality television, and if reality television has taught us one thing, it's just because the cameras stop rolling doesn't mean the drama stops. So the question now is, are Harry and Amber still together? Because getting married during the finale is one thing. Actually maintaining that relationship after the cameras leave is something completely different. Netflix has announced a reunion episode for 26 August, which should give viewers an update on where the couple stands. So for now, Harry Jowsey has technically achieved exactly what the title promised. He went on Let's Marry Harry, and he married Harry. Well, technically he married Amber, but you get what I mean. Anyway, let's head over to Kaap Praat.
Missed the madness? Catch every sharp jab, unfiltered truth, and political punchline from Second Take, the show that says what others won't. From presidential bloopers to policy absurdities, we satirize the powerful and poke the pompous. If you didn't catch the fire live, don't sweat it. Every single story is waiting for you on Echo. Find us at 102.com and Echo, in your time, on your terms.
So for today in Kaap Praat, we're talking about something that is so ordinary, you probably don't even think about where it comes from. You go to the supermarket, buy a bag of oranges, maybe some lemons, and maybe even a grapefruit. And that's that. But behind that piece of fruit is an enormous agricultural industry. And South Africa is actually one of the world's major citrus producers and exporters. The Citrus Growers Association held its inaugural annual Citrus Day in Citrusdal on 11 August, bringing together growers, farm workers, exporters, researchers, entrepreneurs, and industry stakeholders. And the timing makes sense because the South African citrus industry has just come off a record export season in 2025. The industry exported 203.9 million 15-kilogram cartons of citrus. That's approximately 3.06 million tons. Just think about that for a second. Millions of tons of citrus leaving South Africa and heading into international markets. And the industry is currently the country's largest agricultural export industry by value. It also supports an estimated 140,000 jobs at farm level. So this is not just about fruit. It's about employment. It's about rural communities, and it's about international trade. It's about an entire supply chain that starts with a farmer putting a tree in the ground and ends with the fruit being sold somewhere around the world. And that's exactly why Citrusdal was chosen for the first annual Citrus Day. The town is one of South Africa's iconic citrus producing areas, and the citrus industry plays a major role in the local economy. But I also wanted to show you a bit of what that industry actually looks like. Let's head over to Matrosefontein Farm.
Matrosefontein has a very unique climate. We're only about 20 kilometers from the sea as the crow flies. Due to its soil conditions, it produces fruit that has wonderful flavor, high sugars, and is very sweet to the taste. My name is Simon Beatty. I'm the General Manager at Unifruti Matrizefontein's farm in the Sunveld, which is near to the town of Redlinghuis. We have a number of citrus varieties that we grow and produce and pack for export. We do clementines, we do late mandarins in the form of Nadorkots and Ori, late navels in the Cambria, the Autumn Gold and the Powell. And then we also grow and produce lemons for export. One of the attributes that the farm does have is that it has very good quality water. And over the years, the 14 years that I've been farming here, I think Unifruti's owned this farm for nearly 15. We've seen no decline in our water levels. Our challenge is the sand that we farm in, which is more like farming in beach sand. There's no nutrients and everything is more or less fed hydroponically to the trees, using humic and fulvic acids, composting, mulching, placing it on top of the soil surface under the trees to preserve moisture. One advantage is with farming in sand is that the trees are often constantly under stress and pressure. So we do get very good internal quality on the fruit. So we have high sugars, but it's a good balance of sugars and acids. But the juice percentages are also very high. So I mean, we tend to average 55 to 60% juice in our fruit. So the fruit quality is very good that comes off this farm. We're trying to work more with nature rather than against nature. Over the years, we've seen that the natural predators that we have here have actually helped keep the insect populations in balance. Whether it's the table grapes or whether it's the citrus, we follow a very soft program in terms of insect control. So that gives us the ability to access markets that take either chem-free or low residue fruit. And I think for me, this has really been the excitement of farming here, is just seeing how this place that was relatively dead just starting to come back to life, seeing beneficial insects in the orchards and just seeing the health of the trees that have increased as the years have progressed.
Mijn naam is Willem Klaassen. Ik is assistent-bestuurder op die citrus. Ik is op Matrizefontein's zelf was ik nu 29 jaar, maar voor Unifruti werk ik nu 14 jaar. Ons vruchten het een baie goeie gehalte. Die size van die vrug, die vorm, die gehalte van die vrug is baie goed. Ek is baie trots op dit wat ons nou 'n jaar afhaal. Ek is baie trots daarop.
The culture of Unifruti has certainly been one of integrity. This has been evidenced just in the way we produce our fruit, working with nature, not trying to work against it, the packing, marketing of the fruit, and in the products we deliver.
So behind those rows of trees that you see when driving the Citrus Dal Pass, an entire business operation lies. There are people planting and maintaining the orchards, there are workers harvesting the fruit, there are packing facilities preparing produce for market, and there are logistics companies transporting it. And then there are exporters making sure that South African citrus reaches consumers around the world. But the industry isn't without its problems. One of the biggest challenges is water, and another is the rising cost of inputs. There are also concerns around climate variability and biosecurity, because diseases and pests can have enormous consequences for agricultural exports. And then, of course, there's the issue of infrastructure. But for now, we can't get into all the issues, and we're so happy for Citrus Dal that they were able to host the first inaugural Citrus Day in South Africa. We've now been through the entire episode of the group chat, looking at everything from economic issues within the Western Cape, all the way to Harry Jowsey getting married, and then we made a turn in Citrus Dal. So for today, that's all from me, and we'll see you tomorrow.